Hello everybody, welcome. Today's stream is going to be a bit of a different one than usual. They've been largely school related so far, and that's frankly because I just have a certain amount of hours to finish the work, and I found that I just don't necessarily have enough time to stream my book series as much lately, so I decided I would kind of switch a little bit and do, work on stream related to university work. So that's kind of what I have been doing lately as far as that goes. And for this stream, it's once again, for those that don't know, I'm studying to be a special education teacher, so I deal a lot with special education classes. In particular, this is a special education class, so that is one thing definitely to note when it comes to this. And we had to do a project on a Dr. Seuss book, and you're probably hearing this super loud in your ears, so I apologize for that. But we had to do a project on Dr. Seuss ABC, and now obviously I'm not really sure about copyright issues as far as necessarily reading the book into stream, so we're not going to do that. But that is kind of what this is about. And I'll show you the materials that the teacher suggests for this project, as it is a project based on basically alternative reading for kids that may have difficulty, either because of American Sign Language being their language spoken at home, or just struggling readers because of dyslexia or any of the other systems or situations that might exist. So this is kind of to help those type of students. So materials, I have several components here that I plan to use to make this Dr. Seuss ABC book to help out the kids who need a little bit extra. And in total, this project probably costed about $50 roughly for all the materials involved, including the book that I got off of Amazon. Looks like the music has stopped, so let me figure out, wrong thing, let me figure out why that is. Alright, there we go, sorry about that, I'm not sure why I did that. But in total, this project probably costed about $50, including the book, as I just mentioned. So we have this, we have a X-Acto knife that I'm going to use to potentially cut the book like her example had. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to use her entire strategy that the teacher showed for this, as long as I have the correct materials and the materials in the right order. I don't necessarily think that I need to follow her procedure to a T. But we also have a hole puncher, because I am using these spirals here, such as like you would have on your notebook. I was thinking that I was going to have to separately buy a hole puncher, because a regular hole puncher may be too far spaced, and then it would leave a gap that I don't particularly think would look too well. Sorry about the bag poppiness. We also have good old scissors, because we are potentially going to have to cut the pages. The X-Acto knife could be used, but I just wanted to have both just in case. And the part I haven't quite been able to figure out myself is going to be using these. These are going to go on the pages as like a Velcro strip. And then the pieces of paper will go on top of this Velcro strip, and it would have the letter or the American Sign Language symbol representing that letter. And I have two of these because I just kind of want to make sure that they work first. And if they don't, then I don't want to have to buy them all. But if they do work, I'm probably going to have to go back and get at least one more, because there's not going to be enough to include both types of letters. That being said, I may only do the Velcro for the main letters and not Velcro for the American Sign Language letters. So that is something that I am considering doing, but I haven't quite decided, and I think that's going to depend on how I go about this project. Now, the main thing is down here where we have the pages, and I realized that I didn't print in color, so that's not particularly the best scenario, because I think it would have been better in color, especially with this page. Sorry about that, especially with this page where it shows the type of examples, like right here at the top left, right over here for y'all, it shows the apple, and apples are red, so having a visual image, a colored image, would represent an apple a lot more than black and white. But I think for the project, this still works. It's just not particularly my favorite. So I might go back and print out regular, actually we'll set this over here. I may print out regular letters in color for that type. And then we have the American Sign Language letters also in black and white, which I don't particularly think matters as much as the letters that we were representing in color, but those are kind of the two sheets of paper that I have. So that is all the materials and everything that I need for this project. Now I just have to figure out exactly how I want to go about this project. So in her example, she had it cut out to where she basically cut out all the pages, and then put them on to the spiral bit. I'm not necessarily sure that has to be done. If we hole punch here, all the way through this entire set of pages, I think we are still serving the same process. The question is, one, is the hole puncher big enough to do that? And two, is it strong enough to do that? And three, I'm not particularly sure if that is going to be done. And also, I don't know why the music keeps pausing. Maybe I'm hitting the button without realizing. So, like, these were the American Sign Language in color and not in black and white. But I don't particularly think that matters particularly too much. So while I unwrap everything and figure it out, we will continue along from there. And I'm going to mute my mic a bit while getting to this, and see y'all soon. So I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see particularly well, but that is the size of the hole punch right there. So we're not particularly dealing with a too big of a hole punch, as also represented by right here is the dot, and then right there's the hole punch. So we're dealing with pretty small dots, but it should definitely be big enough to fit the spiral ends. Now the question becomes, will I be able to cut through the book using this? So that's what we're going to test. We're going to open up the X-Acto knife and see if this will help with our process. I think that this may actually work better than the hole puncher. Oh. Be right back. Alrighty, sorry for that intermission. I was being extremely dumb, and cut myself with the X-Acto knife. So we know it's sharp 100%. And I was taking care of that. So now let's not go from that angle. So sorry about that delay, everybody. So here it is. Blade is definitely on. And let's see if we can't punch a hole into where I was trying earlier. If we can get a hole right here and get, I don't know, some every so often, then we'll be able to attach our spiral parts onto the notebook where it needs to go. And that will be key. So we're going to try that, and I'm going to be extra careful this time. Now let's see if we can't get a view of it. Let's see. I really need 2 cams for this. I got an idea. I'm going to switch to the B-Right back screen real quick. I was off. I'm just trying to cut through this part and this part, and we'll hopefully be able to fit what we need to as far as the spiral goes, because the hole doesn't actually have to be that big for it to work, to fit into these spirals here. So that is what we are attempting to do. And I think I'll go ahead and make our webcam screen a little bit bigger. Let's see what we're trying to do. So we definitely reached the other side, as you can see here. Oh, watch it, what? As you can see right here. Oh, as you can see right here, we've reached the other side. So I'm going to try to match. And don't worry, we're doing this for good reasons, my friends. We're doing this for a good reason. Alright, that should work. It's not the prettiest, but that should work. With our first hole being right there. We're gonna open this real quick, because I just want to make sure that these spirals will be able to fit in this hole. We shouldn't have any problem with that. I just want to make sure. So we have one set of spirals that we are going to have to figure out to reach. So if we just kind of scoop it in there, we can reach, and then we'll have to cut it. Oh, y'all can't see it, sorry. So if we scoop it in here, so if we scoop it in here, we have our first loop, and then we want to be able to make sure we can match it with like something like this, so that the students will be able to turn the pages and it would work just fine. But that's gonna mean a lot of holes. It'll be alright. I think we could space it. Let's say every red. Let's just try that first. It's not necessarily the prettiest, but I think it's our best approach. God, a little bit too crazy here. I'm sure someone can be a lot neater at this than me, but how am I going to do this? Simply something like this. Yeah, we're gonna need every hull. So let's go. It's not the most pretty, but we have our 3 hulls. I'm actually going to pause the music and we're going to put on some Dr. Seuss videos. And we will go on from there. And any other kind of YouTube content while I figure out going through this arts and crafts book. We're going to start with this video here. and all the ads that come with it.
Do you know who wrote books like The Cat in the Hat, One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, and The Grinch Who Stole Christmas?
Well, now we're running into this problem.
Do you know who wrote...
Okay.
Do you know who wrote books like The Cat in the Hat, One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, and The Grinch Who Stole Christmas? If you said Dr. Seuss, you're absolutely right. Today, we're going to learn all about this amazing writer, including what his real name is. Dr. Seuss was born in Springfield, Massachusetts on March 2nd, 1904. His real name was Theodore Seuss Geisel. When he was a child, his mother used to make up rhymes based on pie flavors to entertain him. Later in his life, Dr. Seuss would say that his love of rhyme came from his mom. And guess what? Her maiden name was Seuss, which was also his middle name. Did you know that Dr. Seuss wasn't really a doctor? In fact, the only reason he went by the name doctor was because his dad wanted him to become one. But lucky for us, he became a writer instead. When Theodore was 18, he attended Dartmouth College in New Hampshire. While there, he became the editor of a funny magazine called The Jack-O-Lantern. After getting into some trouble with his friends, he wasn't allowed to write for the magazine anymore. So, he decided to become tricky and used fake names so he could keep writing. Can you guess what one of his fake names was? Did you say Seuss? You're right. Before he signed his books as Dr. Seuss, he signed a few of his books using the name Theo Lessig, which is his last name, Geisel, spelled backwards. The first time Theodore Geisel used the name Dr. Seuss was for a cartoon he created for the Saturday Evening Post. Theodore graduated from Dartmouth and then went to Oxford College in England with plans to become a professor. While there, he met his future wife, Helen Palmer. They got married in 1927, dropped out of Oxford, and moved back to the United States. Before becoming famous, Theodore wrote advertisements for different companies. He was also an illustrator and a poet. He created political cartoons and made some animated films as well. Even though Theodore was a very creative person, the first book he published was turned down 27 times. But he never gave up. Eventually, his hard work paid off, and his book was published in 1937. Dr. Seuss also helped the U.S. government by creating posters and films which were used during World War II. Later, after the war ended, Dr. Seuss began writing 8 hours a day in La Jolla, California, where he lived with his wife. He was now a full-time writer of children's books. Here are 3 things you might not have known about some of Dr. Seuss's books. The Cat in the Hat only uses 236 simple vocabulary words. It was one of his most successful books and was also made into a movie. Seuss's editor bet him that he couldn't write a book using even less words than that. So, Dr. Seuss wrote Green Eggs and Ham. It only contains 50 different words. How the Grinch Stole Christmas was published in 1957. Dr. Seuss said the Grinch character was based on himself. He thought that he needed to get some Christmas spirit back, so he wrote the book to help him do that. In 1966, that book was made into an animated movie. It has since been remade a few different times.
Having the words count low like that for a children's book does make a lot of sense. Because I know that could be why Dr. Seuss is so popular for reading classrooms as well. Is because you can be able to make a pretty good reading list, vocabulary list, before reading the book. And then by using Dr. Seuss's illustrations and context clues, pictures, definitions, you'll be able to determine that what he is meaning by those certain words. And with him being a children's writer, he doesn't necessarily use that much of an advanced vocabulary. So I think that also helps with Dr. Seuss being able to be so successful necessarily. I know there was recently people got mad at Dr. Seuss for something he did back in the day, but there was also a pretty big crowd of people that basically thought that the reason some people were mad at him was stupid, and his books started to be a lot more expensive for a certain time, and maybe even are still more expensive, because I don't really know what the original price of the books were. So it's hard for me to tell based off of that scenario, but writing less words actually makes a lot of sense in my opinion here. So that it is actually rather interesting, and I wish I could make this look a lot better, but I'm struggling here. I mean, it'll work. It just looks a little rough. That's why I was hoping the paperback would have been a little easier than the hardcover, and I still think that is the case. But it's the only way to really get a good grasp of what is going on here. So I think it's still the best approach. But we'll continue on.
24 years after Dr. Seuss died, a manuscript and sketches were found by the author's widow in their home. The book was called What Pet Should I Get? And was published in 2015. In all, Dr. Seuss wrote and illustrated over 60 children's books. They have been translated into many different languages. Though he loved to write children's books, Dr. Seuss never had any children of his own. But he spent his life helping children all over the world gain a love of reading. Dr. Seuss died on September 24, 1991. A special event is held in his honor every year. It is on March 2nd, which is also his birthday. The event is known as Read Across America Day. It is a day for people to focus on the importance of reading. Many of Dr. Seuss's books are used in schools throughout the world. The stories are fun and silly, creative and imaginary. Written in rhyme, they are filled with interesting characters and colorful cartoons. Before we end, here's a poem we wrote to honor Dr. Seuss. A famous man you surely know. Have you read his book? Oh, the places you'll go. He was called a doctor, but didn't heal anyone, except through laughter and a whole lot of fun. A famous writer with over 60 books. You've probably read one in a cozy nook. Have you tried his breakfast of green eggs and ham? Or met his good friend, Sam I Am? Have you heard of some troublemakers, Thing 1 and Thing 2? Or of a lovable elephant, Horton Hears a Who? At Christmas, some traditions include his Grinch, a green fellow who stole all of Christmas, every inch. Though he never had any children of his own, he spent his life making very many feel at home. Hope you had fun learning with us. Visit us at learnbright.org for thousands of free resources.
So I just found that video and I thought it was rather interesting. So let's see if we can't find another video while we pass time here. Or we could just go back to our music. But I just thought it'd be cool to get a few Dr. Seuss themed videos while we do a Dr. Seuss project. This guy's usually pretty good. So hopefully y'all are all having good days, enjoying your days, or whatever else it may necessarily be. And hopefully you're not cringing too much at the book, as I'm literally covered in book dust right now, trying to complete this project. But,
there's a man who is known for the tales he has sown, told to children young and almost full grown. One sly cat dons a hat, one Horton hears a who, and a Grinch who stole Christmas got a new heart too. He was a doctor named Seuss, but not a doctor at all, just a man who loved writing for both big and small. On today's Biographics, we offer the story of Ted Geisel, the American author. Theodor Seuss Geisel was born in 1904 to German immigrants. His father owned a very successful brewery in Springfield, Massachusetts. As a child, his favorite pastime was to go to the zoo with his family every single Sunday. He was so good at drawing animals that his father bought him a sketchbook that he added to every weekend, and his mum allowed him to paint on the walls of his bedroom. His animals always looked like caricatures, and from a young age, his parents could tell that he had a very whimsical imagination. After Prohibition in the 1920s, his father could no longer run the brewery and actually chose to become the head of the Springfield Zoo instead. Ted Geisel could now go to the zoo and sketch the animals as often as he wanted, and he continued to do this for the rest of his life. Growing up during World War I, many children in school...
So I did not know that, but that actually makes... Oh, shoot. Actually makes quite a bit of sense, actually. Oops. Let's not cut myself again. That actually makes a lot of sense that he would be... Anyway, let's just
would make fun of Geisel, calling their family drunken Germans. This stereotype only intensified during Prohibition, since their family's livelihood came from making beer. This isolated him from his peers a lot, and he spent a lot of time alone, and he was largely an introvert. With the close friends he did have, he would use his good sense of humor to cope with the bad times. He was accepted to Dartmouth College, and he started drawing short comics for their humor magazine. In his senior year, Geisel became the editor, and this was the beginning of a lifelong literary career. One night, the dean caught Geisel drinking an illegal bottle of bootleg gin and having a party in his dorm, so he was removed from his position as editor. He decided to secretly continue contributing to the magazine and went by the pen name Dr. Seuss. Seuss was his mother's maiden name, and when he was born, his parents made it his middle name. In German, it's actually pronounced Seuss, which I'm sure some commenter has commented in below before getting to this point in the video, but everyone always got it wrong when reading it with an American accent, so he just decided to let people call him Seuss. Even though he did not have a doctoral degree, he decided to go by Doctor instead of Mr. because his father had always hoped that his love of animals would have taken him to be a vet, but instead he chose to be an artist and a writer instead. After graduating from Dartmouth, he moved to England to attend graduate school at the University of Oxford. He planned to become a professor, but ended up leaving after just one semester to move to New York City. He was writing funny ads and illustrating them with characters, and he was able to publish his first cartoon in the Saturday Evening Post in 1927. In the beginning, Ted Geisel fully intended to write jokes for adults, but his ad contract forbid him from publishing any comics in the funny papers because his clients felt that it would be in direct competition. However, the contract never mentions children's books, which is why he decided to get started in that genre. He wrote his first children's book, And to Think I Saw It on Mulberry Street, but every publisher rejected him. The story is about a young boy who uses his imagination to elaborate over-the-top details about where he lives, which is something that Geisel always did as a child. Publishers saw this as encouraging children to lie, and they thought it would set a bad example. At the time, children's books were only meant to teach kids moral lessons about manners and obeying their parents. They were not exactly enjoyable to read, and there were very strict rules about what could not or could be in them. Geisel continued to draw ads in New York, but he eventually ran into one of his old friends from Dartmouth who just so happened to have gotten a job at Vanguard Press. His friend helped get Mulberry Street published. The book only saw modest success, but it was still enough to get his foot in the door of the industry. The Dr. Seuss books continued to feature stories where children were getting into some kind of trouble. His stories, they were fun, and much more than just a thinly veiled lecture. Now, he did have to adjust and write to the market, though, and in 1940 Dr. Seuss switched over to Random House and he published a book called Horton Hatches the Egg, which gives a moral lesson for children about loyalty and keeping promises. This book became far more successful than any of his previous titles, but on the brink of America's involvement in World War II, Geisel was about to take a very long break from writing children's stories.
So we heard most of that from the shorter video we just watched, but it is still rather interesting given a little bit more information. And as I was trying to explain earlier, it does make a lot of sense that he would have interest in animals at such a young age and drawing them in more of a illustrative way instead of a realistic way, even from a very early age. We see a lot of people that are good and known as being, the top of their time period, or just one of the more known people of a certain industry, usually show signs of it pretty early in life. So it makes sense that Dr. Seuss would also be among one of those people when illustrating and already having this creative imagination when it came to what he was illustrating about. So I thought that was rather interesting, but at the same time makes a lot of sense when you think about most of the people at the top of their crafts, as I have said. I think that'll be good enough. I don't know why it is not wanting to load, but let's hit that pause button and just kind of let it catch up a little bit, and hopefully that will help catch the video up. Oh, come on. We're almost halfway, but let's make sure we're still on track. And there it goes. Alright. There we go. See, it doesn't look too bad. Oh, y'all can't see it. It doesn't look too bad, really. And we'll be able to flip the pages, hopefully. I just realized something. This may have been incredibly stupid. We need to cut the back too. Alright, well, hopefully that'll work.
For a long time, Geisel stopped sketching pictures of whimsical creatures and began drawing Hitler instead.
What?
He felt that political cartoons were so important that he started working for a liberal newspaper called PM, which published his political commentary. For years, the United States refused to get involved with the war, and Geisel strongly believed that the country needed to help the people suffering in Europe. He finally got his wish, though, because the United States entered World War II in December of 1941. Geisel wanted to join and serve in the army, but he was already in his late 30s, which was far too old. However, he enlisted anyway, and after looking over his resume, the army recruiter made him into one of the propaganda playwrights, and he earned the title of Captain Geisel. They moved Ted Geisel and his wife out to Los Angeles and put him in charge of the animation unit. This is where they worked on propaganda cartoons for the US Army called
Whoa,
Private
excuse me.
Snafu, which were very popular among the new army recruits. Dr. Seuss wasn't the only famous name to come out of the army playwrights, though. Chuck Jones was the director of Looney Tunes, and he directed the cartoon series. Stan Lee of Marvel Comics was also one of the playwrights. Ted Geisel wrote and directed several propaganda films, including ones that were called Your Job in Germany and Your Job in Japan. At the time, he was being criticized for being too sympathetic towards the enemy countries, but after the war was over in 1945, these movies were edited into a feature-length documentary called Designed for Death, which eventually won an Academy Award. In 1947, he took advantage of this public recognition by publishing another children's book called McElligot's Pool, which was his first book in 7 years. In 1950, Geisel wrote an animated short story called Gerald McBoing Boing, and it won the Academy Award for Best Animated Film. After winning these 2 Oscars, he did what most people do in Hollywood, which was write a full-length screenplay called The 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T in 1953. The movie is a live-action musical about a young boy whose piano teacher is an evil villain bent on kidnapping children and forcing them to play his giant piano forever. In the first draft of the movie, the entire story played out very much like his books. He also wrote songs that made the movie fast-paced and exciting. But everything went downhill when the Hollywood executives pushed back, saying that the movie needed an adult love interest and jokes written for the benefit of parents. Therefore, they cut half of his songs and hired a second screenwriter. The revisions ruined the story, and it flopped in the box office. If you watch the movie, it's easy to spot the very funny and crazy moments written by Dr. Seuss mixed with the traditional Hollywood drama that made the movie drag on forever. Today, 5,000 Fingers has become a cult classic because it's so terrible that it's actually kinda good. Ted Geisel said that it was the biggest failure of his career and that he would never trust executives to make another movie again.
After saving with customized car insurance from Liberty Mutual, I customize everything. Like Marco's backpack.
Grammarly does more than catch errors. With Grammarly, you can find really good, no, perfect words that make your writing sharp, or explicit, or excellent, or distinctive. As a matter of fact, for what it's worth, Grammarly can, yeah, that's long. We can get rid of that, and this, good, and this, or how about this?
After taking a long break from writing new books, Ted Geisel learned that children's literacy rates in the United States were dramatically low. So he decided that he was going to do something about that. This is when he wrote The Cat in the Hat, and it was published in 1957 when he was 53 years old. He purposefully wrote the book with a very simple 225-word vocabulary to ensure that nearly every elementary school child was able to read it. This book exploded in popularity, and it truly did help increase children's literacy rates.
So right there we heard a different example of why he wrote the story. Now, we'll see what he has to say about the green eggs and ham, because that's where the other video said that his editor challenged him to make a book with less words that would still be a hit. Okay, this is starting to drive me crazy. Anyway, I'm sorry. That would still be a hit. Because I think we all, in some ways, find Dr. Seuss to be an interesting character when it comes to children's narratives.
By 1960, it sold over 1 million copies, and parents were now searching for more Dr. Seuss books that had been published in the past. One of Geisel's friends gave him the challenge of reducing the vocabulary down to a mere 50 words, and he accepted. This is when he wrote Green Eggs and Ham, which was equally as successful as The Cat in the Hat. He proved that writing doesn't have to be about showing off a big vocabulary. The important thing is to tell a good story, and he was a genius at doing just that. Geisel became head of children's literature at Random House and edited his own books, as well as contributing to the popular Berenstain Bears series. Now that Geisel was in charge, he made the new goal of Random House's children's book department to make the stories as simple as possible so that children would understand every word and enjoy reading the book instead of struggling. This way, it would improve children's literacy because they would feel good about the experience and crave reading more books. A lot of famous authors wanted to be a part of this project, including Charlie and the Chocolate Factory author Roald Dahl and even Breakfast at Tiffany's author Truman Capote. They both tried to pitch manuscripts to Geisel. But even though they were both amazing writers in their own right, their children's books they were rejected for not fully understanding the simplicity that Geisel was looking for. Geisel started working 7 days a week, writing and illustrating, and published at least one new Dr. Seuss book every single year. The stories seem simple, but he once said that he wrote over 1,000 pages before he could narrow the story down to just 60. Over the course of his lifetime, he authored and co-authored 66 books. Throughout his life, Ted Geisel got to enjoy the success of having a superstar pen name without the annoying and invasive parts of being a celebrity. Even though his picture was in newspapers across the country and he received over 1,000 fan letters a day, very few children actually knew what the real Dr. Seuss looked like, so he could still blend into society without drawing a lot of attention to himself. At cocktail parties in New York and Los Angeles, Ted was worried that people would expect a lot of him, so he would tell elaborate stories but only speak to one or two people before retreating into another room to read, smoke, or have a quiet conversation. Even though he was quiet, he was always playing jokes. Whenever an adult asked for his autograph, he would write a long and elaborate fake name in the book and hand it back to them. He was an introvert, so socializing wore him out in general, and he was always afraid that his true self, Ted Geisel, was an incredibly boring person compared to the whimsical persona of Dr. Seuss. On the contrary, friends said that they believed that the select few people he chose to speak to were incredibly lucky, and everyone thought he was very interesting. He just didn't believe in himself. You would think that for a man who wrote children's books, he would have loved being around kids, but the truth is that he often felt uncomfortable around children and said that they're just like socializing with adults. Some are great, while others can be real jerks, and he could only handle it for short periods of time. But he had to learn to cope, especially when stories like The Cat in the Hat became popular and his agent encouraged him to go on a book tour. One time at a shopping mall, he slipped away from a crowd of children and started playing pranks on mall employees by altering the displays. His agent actually caught him changing the prices of designer shoes to make them less expensive. Ted did not want to disappoint the kids, though, because he knew that when children imagined Dr. Seuss, they expected to see someone out of Whoville, but he was just a normal guy. After a few awkward speeches at elementary schools, he decided to stop being himself and act like Dr. Seuss. He started speaking in sing-songy rhymes that he wrote ahead of time and thought of clever answers to frequently asked questions. After he started essentially playing a character, he felt far more comfortable. Even though Dr. Seuss wrote children's stories that were loved around the world, his personal life was far more complicated. The story of the woman he fell in love with became one of the main scandals of his life. But in order to tell the whole story, we need to go all the way back in time to his college years. While he was a student at Oxford, Ted Geisel met a fellow American English major named Helen Palmer. She was 5 years older than he was and almost ready to graduate with her master's degree. She sat behind Ted in class, and when she saw his sketches of animals, she encouraged him to become an artist instead of a professor. He dropped out after spending just one semester in Oxford, but Helen went on to graduate. They got married soon after and moved to New York City together. She would eventually go on to publish several children's books of her own. For the majority of their marriage, Helen and Ted had a very happy relationship, and they were very supportive of one another's works. As a young girl, Helen survived having polio. Because of her poor health, she was not able to have children of her own. However, they enjoyed the freedom of not having children. He and Helen traveled to 30 different countries together. They went on to purchase their dream home in San Diego, California, and they even had a watchtower on top of a mountain. Helen would edit his work, giving feedback and also taking care of the household, while Ted worked in his office. For a long time, their marriage, it was pretty perfect. In 1954, just a year after his Hollywood movie flopped, Helen was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is an incredibly painful condition where the body's immune system attacks its own nerves. She became completely paralyzed and was placed inside of an iron lung. If she were to leave this huge metal container, Helen wouldn't have been able to breathe on her own. For a while, they thought that she might die. Ted Geisel stopped writing and illustrating completely, giving up everything in his life to be by her side. Even today, there is still no cure for Guillain-Barré syndrome. Helen had to go through intensive therapy to learn to walk and talk again, but she continued to be very sick without much recovery time in between. To make matters worse, she was eventually diagnosed with terminal cancer. Like anyone who's feeling ill, Helen was no longer acting like her usual self. They started sleeping in separate bedrooms, and their relationship became more of a friendship. Ted went on to have a secret affair with a married woman named Audrey DeMond, who was neighbors and friends with the couple. Even though he had fallen in love with someone else, he never left his wife. But when Helen was 69 years old, she found out about the affair, and she couldn't handle the possibility that he may leave her. She felt that she was far too old and ill to start her life over and try to move on with someone else. In 1967, she killed herself, leaving a suicide note that was just as lyrical as their children's books. Helen died of a drug overdose, and Ted was completely beside himself with guilt and grief. He blamed himself for her death and said, "I didn't know whether to kill myself, burn the house down, or just go away and get lost." Audrey Stone DeMond divorced her husband, and they got married that following year. Audrey was 18 years younger than Geisel, and she had two daughters who were 9 and 14 at that time. She sent them to boarding school because she knew that they were unhappy about the divorce. The entire community judged Audrey and Ted harshly, and they were shunned by many of their friends and neighbors because they blamed them for Helen's death. Audrey and Ted, they stayed together until his death, and he credited her with helping him find his love for writing again and having a chance at a second life. For the first time, he got to experience being a stepfather and a grandfather. He wrote, "Sometimes when I see my granddaughters make small discoveries of their own, I wish I were a child."
It's going good so far. I realized that I probably should have done something else first, but we're gonna have to switch back and do that anyway. So I don't think it'll cost us too much time. So that should be okay. Something I should have looked at before I did this, but let's let the video catch up. If anybody's watching, hopefully y'all are all having a good day so far, or a good night, depending on where you are located. And, yeah. So, we almost I've got the book covered as far as this goes.
In 1984, Ted Geisel won the Pulitzer Prize in Children's Literature, and his stories were translated into 30 languages. Dr. Seuss is now considered to be a classic author who is taught to each new generation, and his books continue to be reprinted today. Theodore Geisel was diagnosed with mouth cancer from years of smoking, and he died in 1991 at the age of 87. 3 weeks before his death, he asked for a bed to be moved into his office so that he could be surrounded by the sketches and sculptures of his characters and have a view of the mountains from his picture window. When he was alive, Ted Geisel did not want any merchandise or movies to be made from his books. However, after he died, his wife, Audrey, became in charge of the Seuss brand. She chose to allow licensing to make toys, games, and Hollywood films so long as she was there to oversee the creative direction and make sure that it would have been up to Ted's standards. Some people have criticized her, saying that it's exploitation, but she believes that in today's ever-changing world of children's media, the Dr. Seuss stories may have not lasted as long as they have if they didn't get a modern makeover. Audrey, she was right, and her decisions have helped keep his legacy alive. He appeared on the 2018 Forbes list of richest dead celebrities. His book sold 4.8 million copies and earned $16 million in 2017 alone. His estate is currently worth around $75 million. She gives a huge portion of the proceeds from her husband's royalties to the Dr. Seuss Foundation, which is a non-profit organization that donates money to various causes. So all of the money from those new Dr. Seuss movie remakes are actually going to pay for college scholarships, libraries, school art programs, and cancer research. Surely Ted Geisel would be happy to know that even years after his death, his stories are still making a difference with children everywhere. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do give us a thumbs up below and don't forget to subscribe. Also, I've got another channel. It's called Top 10s. We've got top 10 lists. We look at all sorts of different fun facts and things like that.
Alrighty, so that was that video. If anybody does have a video suggestion, you can definitely let me know. But I think we'll move to something else. Or we can just go back here and play some music. We'll coat this. Fuck. That's not what I wanted. Disaster. Alright, whatever. Let's see if it'll work first. Okay. Now let's see if we can't. Because that's okay. Oh shit. Okay, so if I cut it down here, terrible idea. No! Oh. I don't know what I'm doing. Just mess up this boat. For no reason. Terrible idea. What? I'm like, we ain't jumping that fast. disaster. I don't think this is gonna work at all. Not the way I wanted to, at least. Damn it! I'm not so sure about this, but... I think our best approach is going to be making new holes. Hopefully that'll work. This is incredibly annoying. I'm losing patience pretty fast here. Oh, hey Jimmy, I didn't see you in here. This is the same playlist I was playing from the last stream. I haven't changed it. I may change the playlist, so if you're still here, you can pick from the ones that are free once I move this here. You can pick from any of the ones you can see. Oop, let me move this down. You can pick from any of these, Jimmy. The ones that you can see. And then there's the ones up there. But we'll just scroll down in here. Any of the ones you can see, you can pick. Just let me know. We can definitely change it. See, that's just not gonna work. This did not go as planned, and I'm debating what I want to do here. Select chip tune. We'll see what this one is. I think I'm gonna have to do this literally one at a time here. What? The hell? This is definitely retro. Why does this keep falling? I don't get it. I get it now. This is a nightmare, Jimmy. Hell. It's even worse. I got a better idea. Where's my scissors? Hopefully you're having a good day though, Jimmy. It can be a little long days at times. Almost Friday. You missed the old retro games? What was your favorite one? I hope this will work. Yeah, I remember Evan. He's hard to forget. Remember we wore the same hat for forever? The same orange hat, and y'all would get us confused? Just get the damn hole. Do not tear. Even though game would have to be any Sega game with two-player shooter. I think Pac-Man's probably my favorite. I got it from Amazon for a sped project that I'm doing. It hasn't really turned out like I was wanting it to so far. But that's partly because of the material that I was able to find a book in. Wasn't exactly what I was looking for. So it's made it tough to do the project as the teacher wants. I'm probably not gonna see the new Sonic, I doubt it. Don't think this is gonna work. I just don't. Did you ever sell your Dr. Seuss books, Jimmy? I know you said you were going to whenever that Dr. Seuss craze happened. For whatever he ended up doing. I forgot the exact reasons now, but people were mad at him for a little bit. For some weird reason. Okay. What needs to happen? Right off the edge. Yeah, one of the book had a caged black guy. That's what he got in trouble for, I'm assuming? Or, yeah, that's what I'm assuming. But, holy hell. But did you ever sell your book you were gonna sell? How can it chop through that, but not chop through damn paper? What the hell? I just don't understand. Alright. Holy hell. You had a Dr. Seuss book. And I forgot if you sold it or not. Jimmy, what am I doing? We gotta backtrack. I'm a disaster right now. We need to go. Ooh, careful, careful, careful. We need to go out of the first one. Flip this over. We got more pages we have to add. I feel like I bought some Doctor Who special or something. This is a lot of pages. The hell? How your class is going? Do you have any classes today, or it's just kind of a free day? Classes were rough and it rained. Does it rain a lot in Washington, D.C.? I think I heard from somebody that it usually does rain quite a bit. Make this part of the scene. Well, this page is upside down. I don't really have sausage fingers per se. The webcam doesn't do them too much justice, but I figured this is much more entertaining than looking at me not doing anything. So how do I want to do this? Connect this. And y'all are seeing this upside down from your point of view, because I am not that skilled to not do it upside down. Okay, so it's all of these pages. It's for a special education class I'm in. We have to make it, and then we have to post sign language letters on it. And that will help students who that'll help students who are having a hard time at reading or use American Sign Language at home to be able to understand letters and hopefully understand what Dr. Seuss is trying to say. God damn it. This is a disaster. I have all A's and 1 B right now in classes. But it's very possible that my 1 B I have, it will turn into an A with my final project I have to do. Not for this class, for a different class. But I'm not too worried about that, so I think we can probably have a 4.0 this semester. My overall GPA is like a 3.86 or so out of 4. Probably not. I'll probably be in the same room next semester. And then the semester after is clinical teaching. So I won't need a roommate for that. Alright. Yeah, it gets harder and harder the longer the semester. It's hard to keep a good GPA the whole time. It's almost like the school does that on purpose. top. Whew. This is taking a lot longer than I thought I was going to. I think it's C for Stephen F. Austin. I think there's some classes where they have D as passing, I think. But, I know if you get a C, they start to get a little concerned. But at the same time, I know that C generally is passing. So, I told you, Jimmy, I'm not going to be able to Discord you tomorrow. We could definitely do it probably next Friday. But tomorrow I'm going to be on the road for about 3.5 hours. For a meeting. What's going on here? It's about a 3.5 hour trip, and it's a meeting for the Libertarian Party of Texas. I'm the Nacogdoches chair of the Libertarian Party. So, of this small region that the college is located in, I'm in charge of any events that happen here. But this is for the main party. That's what I've been keeping busy with a lot recently. It's the Libertarian Party of Texas convention. So the state party of Texas, of the Libertarians, is having their stuff this weekend. And I'm leaving Friday because a lot of events are happening on Friday as well. Yeah, I'm a member of the Libertarian Party of Texas. I'm not a national member, just cause I could be. Costs like a little bit of money, it's not even that much, but I'm just a party member of Texas right now. You're probably a liberal. Maybe. You're definitely not Republican. Unless Frankie and ER got to you. I think I would consider you a liberal. Not progressive necessarily, but liberal. No, I don't get paid. Are you kidding? I wish. Why do I think you're liberal? Well, it's more I don't necessarily think you're a Democrat, but I know you're not Republican. So I consider you to be probably more liberal, because I don't think you have your exact beliefs that your parents do, but you're probably pretty close, because generally people stay pretty close to what their parents believe. Now, of course, there's definitely people that do change, yeah, generally people tend to stay closer to what their parents are, unless you were, like, really disrespected or part of like the LGBT community where your parents may have been ultra, conservative and you're now ultra progressive because, well, you're in the community and you really disagree with everything that your parents taught you. So there are people like that as well. But generally, people stay closer to their parents. I thought always you were conservative. Crazy how we wound up in a troop of all Republicans. Yeah, I think in general... Oh, maybe not, but... I was gonna say, I think in general, Boy Scouts is a more conservative organization. Maybe not so much now, when they passed their bills and whatnot to allow girls to be added to the troop, but at the same time, in general, even just being in Texas, you deal with a lot more conservatives than you do with anyone else. So, I guess it just doesn't really surprise me. But would you classify yourself as a liberal, Jim? I'm also not particularly sure I can broadcast the book like what I'm doing right now. But I can always take this stream down if anything happens as far as copyrights go. But it's not necessarily the intention of what I'm doing. But copyrights can still be a little bit of an issue. Where was it fall to? Ooh! Okay. I don't like how the pages are like way bigger because I had to cut it off. But I think that's better than what it looked like before. Not perfect. Definitely not perfect. I don't like government monitoring and looking up our privacy. Okay. I think many people would agree with you on that. So what do you classify yourself as then? If you don't necessarily think progressive. Or maybe you're just still searching, you don't know yet. Which is definitely where a lot of people stand when it comes to politics. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. And this one too. Conservative, the Democrat. Abortion is wrong. Yeah, it is. I think it's wrongful to do. And I don't think it should be the government's place to tell you to do it or not to do it. I think it should solely be up to the people. Now, would I recommend doing it? No. But I don't think that we or the government have the option to tell people what to do with their body when it comes to that. But that's a very tough issue. because you don't want kids to grow up in terrible homes just because of their parents' actions. But at the same time, you don't want... at the same time, it is murder, in my opinion. Now, I don't know. It's a tough topic. I still debate where I stand when it comes to that. I mean, it's a topic I think I need to do more research on as well. If that's a classification, yeah. Why don't you have the Dr. Seuss series where they have two groups of people building inventions to fight off one another? I didn't get to choose what book this was about. She picked the book. She picked how it wanted to look, roughly. And usually she would give the resources because it was part of her, doctorate project, basically. But this time around, the school didn't sponsor it, so she just gave out a list and we had to buy the resources and the book. And still do this project. So because of that, it is rather annoying, and I'm just hoping this works out as best as it can. And I'm gonna have to work on this tomorrow to probably finish it up. Maybe. my god, what the hell? Alright. Right at the middle of this tail. Yeah, this one is not the greatest song. Do you want to pick again, or do you just want me to choose a random one? Up to you on that. I'll give you a little time to decide, because I know the stream's a bit delayed. Because if you want to pick again, I can show the options. There you go. There's your choices there. And then there's like country and metal and EDM, if that's not already up there. There's like a few extra. Alternative. We'll see what this one is. I don't think I've played this one before. Adjust your... You're gonna have to pick a different one, I think, Jimmy. I'll pick EDM for a little bit until you pick a different one, if you do have a different one. I'm not gonna be able to play that one until I put my YouTube channel in. And I'll have to do that later just to make sure I'm hooked up to the right one. Because I do actually have a YouTube channel for this Twitch. This is definitely not what I was picturing. Afro beats. We can't do alternative because I have to hook up my YouTube channel, and I want to make sure I hook up the right one. But we can try Afro. This is definitely different, but I don't dislike it. Why are the holes so far apart? I don't get it. It does sound a little bit like Pitbull.
Searching for a better way to collaborate with your team? Try Miro, an online whiteboard made for teamwork.
People today, they could spend half their lives over 50. That's
Wait for this to load.
It's a lot of living, so make sure the good things in life live as long as you do.
This is just slow-mo karate.
I don't really have a playlist on YouTube. I was thinking of playing the video on YouTube as we just kind of finish this up. Just something random.
Cuando necesites, tú estuviste ahí, bebé. Tú estuviste ahí, bebé. Por eso te doy todo, todo. Tú eres mi tesoro, solo. Lo que tú quieras te lo compro.
Jimmy's a fan of this one right here.
Te invito a motivarte, te doy todo, todo. Tú eres mi tesoro, solo. Lo que tú quieras te lo compro. Actívate, que yo te invito a motivarte. Te doy todo, todo. Tú eres mi tesoro, solo. Lo que tú quieras te lo compro. Actívate, que yo te invito a motivarte. Te doy todo, todo.
Only reason I have Fox News as a suggestion was from my podcast when I used to pull clips from CNN and Fox News and stuff, and I still get all those recommendations. But I haven't done my podcast in a very long time. So I'm not sure why they still pop up, but it could also be because that was the Alex Stein interview, the guy that did the Ukrainian rap at the Plano City Council, the troll artist guy. He got interviewed by them.
From her appearance at the Met Gala to her front cover photo in a magazine that didn't even exist, most of Lily Jean's entire career as a triumphant public figure turned out to be nothing more than one massive lie. It eventually went way deeper than just the photos themselves. Her professional Instagram page, which often displayed what seemed to be very authentic brand deals, boasted a verification badge as well as a follower count of over 1 million. However, this 1 million follower count would also be where her ruthless expose began, after users on Reddit would notice that despite her high follower count, she'd received very few likes on each photo, leading to initial suspicions that she might have purchased some of her followers. The unassuming thread, which was titled A Discussion of Lily Jean, began by stating that her engagement is a little more than suspicious, before going on to explain that she averages anywhere from 100 to 1,000 likes per post, implying that almost all of her 1 million followers were completely inactive. The website flanks.com, which stores Instagram engagement data, states that on average, accounts with more than 1 million followers have an engagement rate of 1.97%, meaning that an account with 1 1 million followers should be receiving approximately 19,700 likes per post, highlighting Lily Jean's maximum of 1,000 likes per post as suspicious. Over on Twitter, her engagement appeared even more dubious, as discussed in one comment reading, "I just looked at her Twitter and she has 11.1k followers, but the only person that likes her posts is her mum. Wow, this thing got wild." To be fair, this comment did include a bit of misinformation, as in reality, Lily Jean would sometimes receive up to 2 likes per text post and a whopping 5 likes if she posted a nice photo of herself. Obviously, we're taking the piss a little bit here. However, with over 11,000 followers, the inability to receive more than 10 likes on a post, and the fact that her Twitter account would eventually get banned for violating the Twitter rules, sets a pretty good baseline for how suspicious Lily Jean's activity was in the beginning. This was hammered home further in another Reddit comment relating to her Instagram, which read, 1.1 million followers and less than 70 likes in 5 hours is pretty telling, as well as another screenshot posted to Twitter of a website which had estimated that over 90% of Lily Jean's followers were fake. However, 90% could have still been a conservative estimate. Assuming her Facebook following of 27,000 and her YouTube following of 24,000 are both legitimate, it's hard to imagine that her real Instagram following is much higher than 30, 40, or 50,000, which makes what we're about to discuss next even stranger. Because after this original Reddit expose would blow up in popularity, Lily Jean's likes per Instagram post randomly shot up to between 20,000 and 35,000 likes per post. Occasionally this number would reach even higher to around 50,000 likes, leading many to believe that she was now also paying to increase her engagement in addition to purchasing followers. Her comments began to flood with hundreds of other verified Instagram accounts, all leaving extremely basic positive comments, each of which almost always receiving less than 10 likes per comment, despite the photo itself receiving up to 50,000. If you want a good laugh, look at her IG comments. She has thousands of comments that say amazing or hello or awesome from these foreign accounts with high sub counts. It's insane IG lets her get away with it, and they're all verified for some reason. Compare this with another relevant female content creator like Valkyrae, whose top comments from other verified creators receive hundreds if not thousands of likes, and suddenly it becomes obvious that Lily Jean's comment section also smells a little bit fishy. The most interesting part about Lily Jean's statistics is that purchasing as many followers and likes as she had is costly, like really costly. Isn't buying that many followers pretty expensive? 2 websites listed 2,000 plus USD for that. That is insane. With a quick Google search, you can find multiple websites that sell Instagram followers, claiming to make you an instant niche influencer, increase your sales and profit, make you a celebrity instantly, and give you excellent PR, all for the price of $8 USD per 1,000 followers, equivalent to 8,000 USD in exchange for a following of 1 million. However, it gets even pricier when you start to look at how much it costs to buy likes, which sell at a rate of $150 per 25,000. When considering Lily Jean's average of 35,000 likes per post, you begin to get an idea as to how much she had to have been shelling out in order to maintain her image as an influencer. Well, that's assuming she was paying for it. Another Reddit comment indicated that this might not have been the case. I remember a while ago reading an article on how to increase your following on Instagram, and one of the recommendations was to create multiple fan accounts of yourself. They recommended like an automated program or something. They can run different accounts to make it easier. The details are a blur, but it's along those lines. I was like, nah, so I wouldn't be surprised if at least the majority of these are run by her. Under the suspicion that Lily Jean had somehow managed to create hundreds of thousands of accounts personally, people began to look into those who followed her, as well as those who had commented on her posts. They'd run into accounts such as this one called @Howief, which had commented "marry me," yet had no profile picture, no posts, no followers, and only one account following, Lily Jean. This was basic evidence showing that either Lily Jean had some bizarre super fans that had created accounts specifically to follow her and her only, or alternatively, something or someone was creating these accounts with the sole goal of boosting Lily Jean's follow account and engagement. However, accounts like Howief were only the absolute tip of what would become a colossal sized iceberg, as those who were suspicious continued to dig further, finding some of the strangest.
You do any of this, Jimmy? You boost any followers on Instagram? I bet that's something you do. We're about halfway on the book so far. Well, halfway on what we're doing here. And it's only taken about maybe 2 hours and 15 minutes. Because we did cut the finger here at like pretty much the very start. So that was fun. But I may be cutting the stream here pretty soon, because it is getting a bit late, and I don't really want to upset the next door neighbors with any loud volume. So I think we'll go to like 10:30 maybe, and then we'll find somebody to raid, and I may hang out in there a little bit while I finish up the rest of this book. And I may stream tomorrow. On this same book with the second part of what I have to do. But I'm not exactly sure yet if that's what I want. And yeah, you know, the Twitch raid where you raid into the person's channel and picks a sound alert usually, and the person's usually a little happy because you gave them extra viewers. And honestly, it's just kind of cool. Now, when you're a small channel, it's more cool when somebody raids into you. But, you know, I'll still do it. And do I have a girlfriend? I don't. I think I told you that last stream. But we're working on that. We are working on that. A very slow process. Just like this book. Very slow. Do you have one, Jimmy? Also, do you have roommates? I think the last time we spoke, you didn't even have any roommates. But that was last semester, I think. It's been a while. And plus, time just moves so fast. You have a roommate. I was gonna say, because if you're still at the same apartment, or I think it was an apartment, it's definitely not a house, but if you're still at the same place, it was very big. So, like, you could easily have a roommate, that's for sure. Hopefully, you enjoy the roommate, and there's no issues there, because they can really make or break the college experience. A senior. Oh, wow. So he knows what he's doing then. Which is good. You can ask questions maybe. What the hell? Oh, no. Oh, no. Jimmy. It's not good. We just have it broken right here. It broke off the clip there. He's pretty chill, always at work. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Okay. Let's finish the rest of this.
Most unexplainable accounts. For example, there was this one called Shaniqua4798, which was apparently run by an African-American lady, in posts such as this one, which read, "I love this photo, I am so badass." Yet, for some reason, over half her profile was just photos of Lily Jean, as if it was some kind of fan page. What was even more bizarre was that in some of the posts, there were full-blown stories of Shaniqua's incredible experience meeting Lily Jean, typed in an African-American accent with the N-word and all. Girl says, "Oh, hello, my name is Lily Jean, and I'm an up-and-coming model, motivational speaker, actress, beauty blogs, etc. You get my drifts right, y'all. Her name is Lily Jean and she does #MUA work too. But she really is also everything. So impressed on how sweet and little she was. Her makeup was friggin' flawless. She asked her who did her makeup and the little biddy says, "Oh, I always do my own and minimal is better." The story in its over-complimentary nature was almost like it had been written by Lily Jean herself, which, depending on how you view the world, could be seen as offensive considering the N-word was used in the beginning of the writing. Offensive or not, it was certainly strange. As with the dozens of other Lily Jean fan pages, which when investigating further, were also filled with fake followers, showing that maybe Lily Jean had some kind of program or script to create multiple accounts, which would then follow her while
sometimes he sleeps with his boyfriend, so I'm basically alone on the weekends. Oh. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a good or bad thing. Honestly, I think I would rather prefer a roommate that's super, super busy and you don't really see that often than a roommate that never leaves the room, because then you can start to get on each other's nerves pretty easily, and that's not good because you have to live with that person for a pretty good amount of time. But at the same time, if you're really wanting to experience, the college life with a roommate, having somebody like that isn't exactly ideal either. So I'm not sure exactly how you feel about it, but I think you have the better out of the two extremes.
Whilst reposting her images to their pages. The initial Reddit expose read, "A quick glance at her comment sections yields several accounts that comment consistently, a majority of which are fan accounts, of which there are at least 20 with variations of @LilyJaneFanPage/fan in their handle or bio. While having fan pages in itself is not unusual, this accusation of these self-run /
I think I will be streaming tomorrow. Probably sometime 11 o'clock maybe, or just after lunch. It won't be probably too long of a stream. I'm not sure on the timing because I kind of want to leave here. Wow, I don't know when I'll stream. It's possible I'll even stream in Dallas and just in a hotel room maybe, and bring this stuff with me, because I don't want to be stuck in Dallas 5 o'clock traffic. But I'll figure out the time. But I most likely will stream tomorrow. Most likely. Come on, are you gonna play? We'll just let it pause a little bit and enjoy the peace and quiet. The peace and quiet without any music or YouTube video while it decides to load. As you hear the pages flip of this amazing torn up Dr. Seuss book. I think my YouTube just crashed. We're gonna go back to our pretzel because I don't think the computer's able to handle all the things I have up right now, which is fine.
Owned accounts comes from the fact that these accounts mostly repost her content and often have a post with highly detailed backstory on how they met / found her on social media. Each of the accounts listed tag 100% of their posts with the hashtag LilyJane regardless of relevance. Most / all of the accounts follow each other. These accounts would also reveal that LilyJane might have been running some kind of reply bot or script on her own account. As to the previously mentioned comment stating "marry me," LilyJane would reply with a love heart once before returning 2 weeks later to reply with yet another love heart. This was the same case with almost every other comment on this photo. LilyJane replies with 2 love hearts anywhere from 0 days to 2 weeks apart, as if the replies were automated or on some kind of unspecified schedule, providing further evidence that LilyJane had experience with setting up systems to assist with the engagement on her Instagram account. As a result of this apparent engagement, Lily would find her—
That is commitment. If you're setting up programming bots to run your account, like that is some major commitment to what you're trying to do. So I'll give her credit on that.
Herself with a multitude of different brand deals on her platform, the quantity of which listed in the original Reddit post. However, with all the other fake information that had been uncovered, people were unsurprisingly skeptical about how legit these brand deals really were. It's very possible that those companies aren't actually sponsoring her. Anyone can just write hashtag ad in their caption and tag the company. The main problem here was that it's kind of hard to expose a fake brand deal. As the comment mentioned, anyone can buy whatever they want, post themselves using it on Instagram, chuck in hashtag ad, and suddenly they're a paid influencer. It's not like any brand is going to speak up and do anything about it, because why would they want to get in the way of someone promoting their product on Instagram for free? Well, this would be the case for most, except for one brand, Bite Beauty. LilyJane would post a vlog of her heading to the Bite Beauty store in New York City, during which she would not only be greeted by a bunch of fans to get photos, but to also create her own sponsored lipstick shade titled Lily. The collaboration would be announced on her personal Instagram in a post reading, "Pretty sure this warm red I made at Bite Beauty is off the hook. You hashtag genies can purchase this shade in P+L by calling in or dropping by stores. stores. Just ask for the Lily. However, those who had been to Bite Beauty before knew that it was a store where anyone could go and combine colors together to make their own lipstick. In the video, she said she got the opportunity to create her own lipstick at the Bite Beauty lab, which I'm pretty sure anyone can do if you go to the Bite lab in New York. Like Safia Nygaard did it too and did a video on it just like LJ here did. Yup, all you do is book an appointment online and pay $65. Anybody can do it. According to this Reddit comment and this Reddit comment, which to be fair are both pretty poor evidence, the brand would then reach out to Lily Jean, telling her that she needed to stop lying about their collaboration. However, Lily Jean wasn't only limited to lying about brand deals. Some of the photos she posted were also lies created in Photoshop. We mentioned in the very beginning that Lily
It's the most jacked up book.
Searching for a better way to collaborate with your team? Try Miro, an online white.
I think we're giving up on the YouTube. Okay. Starting to become a little bit tight on the rings. So I'm not sure how much more we will be able to assist. Man, it's very tight. So this is the problem here. Is the tension is very tight here, and I'm running into some issues being able to reach the next hole right here with the extra curls. So I think I'm just gonna have to stretch them as much as possible. Oh, I mean, it doesn't look terrible. And then you open it. Could be worse. Could be worse. Alright. We're going to look for somebody to raid. No, that's not what I wanted. We'll have to take that out. We're gonna wade into coffee. So I highly appreciate everybody for sticking around. Thank you, Jimmy, for coming by. It makes it go a lot better. It makes it feel like I'm not just talking to myself. But we're gonna go ahead and raid coffee. Coffee's fantastic. Very big part of the writing Twitch community. It has a unique channel with battles, promotes a bunch of writing tools. I just really like her stream, and she's just a pillar of the community and somebody I have a lot of respect for, essentially. And it looks like she just got a raid, and we're gonna raid her as well. Alright, see y'all. Thank you.